You don't have enough money.
You're fat.
You're stupid.
You're broke.
You don't dress well enough.
You stink.
You're not the right ethnicity.
And you really aren't that smart.
Did we mention that you're broke?
No, I don't think we did. Should we say it again?
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, you're not only broke, but you're broke as fuck.
You're poor. You're illiterate.
Wow. Degenerate.
Oh, my goodness. And don't even get me started on the way you walk.
Hate it. Man.
Horrible. You know what, Austin?
What?
Go ahead and say it for them.
You don't belong here, man.
You don't belong here. You're not alone if this isn't the first time that you've heard that or felt that. This is something that almost everybody has experienced at least one point in their time, especially if you're a person of color or a minority per se. Austin, what does it mean to us when we hear or see or feel you don't belong here?
Now, just to add on this caveat here, if you're not a minority or a person of color, this still applies to you because people fall into certain categories, certain buckets that we all like to separate ourselves into. That's kind of what we do as human beings. You know, we're all a part of the human race. However, we like to distinguish ourselves from the other to have some type of superiority over another group of people. So whether that's low class, middle class, high class, black, white, fucking who knows?
You could be Asian, you could be Hispanic,
smart,
you could be
dumb,
American.
like just all these little fucking categories, fast, slow, all these little categories that we put ourselves into or people put us into that has us maybe not being seen as someone that should be involved in something or a part of the group or a part of the class or a part of the social economic area that they're in. And for us, this is something that we've encountered a lot because when you think of entrepreneurs or businessmen, you probably think of someone who is maybe 40, in the 40s, suit, gelled hair, and, you know, drives a fucking Porsche or some shit like that.
Or a Tesla.
And they're from upstate New York or something like that. You know, that's what you may think of when you think of the common entrepreneur. But nowadays, things have changed a little bit to where we have started to see a influx of younger entrepreneurs, younger people trying to get into this space. And for us specifically, not only are we younger, we also don't look like the stereotypical entrepreneurs that people may be interested in, right? Or accustomed to. So we have encountered a substantial amount of times, whether it's business or not business, where we have put in the work to where we have gotten ourselves into a place or a space that a lot of people like us aren't in. And if they are in it, they're not very loud about it. They're somewhere in the corner somewhere, you know, keeping to themselves. They're not saying, hey, I'm over here, right? So this is very important to podcast about because you will probably go through this if you haven't already gone through in life where you felt ostracized or, you know, casted out of the mix because you were different or you had different aspirations. And this is something that I think that you shouldn't have to shy away from, but really wear it as a badge of honor. And the way that you may approach it may be different than Jose or myself, and I even approach it differently than Jose. So it may be different, but it's something that I do think that you should figure out a way to approach and not be scared about. But again, wear it as a badge of honor. You know, you're not supposed to be here, right? According to everyone else, but you made it there and use that to your advantage.
I'm going to quote Chris Williamson here. And I'm actually going to put a spin on you don't belong here and make it into a positive. Because I really do think that almost everything we talk about has two sides of the same coin. That In reality, you can make anything almost into a positive, which we do in our case, and we'll give you a little dialogue on our story. But I also think that this is something that you don't belong here being, hey, ostracized or isolated or what have you, is actually an indicator of something else, something that you are actually exactly where you need to be, because you don't belong here yet. So, a quote from Chris Williamson: "Loneliness is a kind of tax you have to pay to atone for a certain complexity of mind. The weirder you are, the less people are like you. The less people will get you. This is fine." So essentially, you don't belong here. Imagine you're new to a field. Imagine you just entered the finance domain and you're an entrepreneur in the finance domain. Perhaps let's say you're running a fintech company. You don't belong here. You don't. It's your first time. It's your first go at it. You have full backing power from the VCs. You're funded, but you don't know what the heck you're doing. You don't belong here. All your competition is going to look down upon you. And you might say, man, that's so uncomfortable. People are slandering me. I don't like it. And I understand. But by the same token, you got to say, I don't belong here yet. I'm not an authority yet. Every time that you have a certain degree of mental complexity, or you're achieving something or you're working towards a large ambition, that isolation, that loneliness, that feel of ostracization is actually an indicator that you are exactly where you need to be, because that's the battle that you have to start fighting now. That's the uphill start. And we always say the first step from 0 to 1 is harder than 1 to 100. And so when you feel that way, depending on the context, know this: that's exactly where you need to be. And if anything else, that's actually the best indicator that you are headed in the right direction, which we all need nowadays, because it's even easier to get lost. It's even easier to wander aimlessly. It's even easier to question, is this even worth it? When I can work a simple 9-to-5 minimum wage job, live under a decent roof, have good meals, and live a decent life. Relatively respectable.
And I'm sure if you asked Michael Jordan or his teammates when he was in high school and when he tried out for the varsity basketball team, if he belonged there, they would have said no. You know how I know that? Because he didn't fucking make the varsity basketball team, I believe, his freshman year, sophomore year, whatever year it was. And some people may see that as a bad thing or a sign to quit, a sign to give up. But I think you can use this as a moment for fuel. So a lot of people like to view negative things as reasons to give up and reasons to be sad and reasons to stop. However, what Michael Jordan and Kobe and many other athletes are able to do, Tom Brady, are able to use bad situations and turn them into fuel to do better. So if you're currently in a place or in a field or in a situation where someone says you don't belong there, and it's something that you have aspirations to attain or to be a part of, then take that as a sign that you're going to have to put in an unbelievably amount of work in order to be there. But that's the thing that you can use as a strength that others may not. Because let's say, for instance, right, if I said that you don't belong here, and I'm talking to you, and my experience into this realm was fairly easy, fairly straightforward. Maybe I had connections that were able to get me into this place, and I didn't have to do a lot of work for it. I could look down on you and say that you don't belong here. However, I don't think that someone who had the similar pathway as you as far as work would look down on you and say you don't belong here. So if you're working your way up to the top as opposed to being given your way there, you have the attributes that someone that may not have taken that pathway has. You have the attributes of hard work, tenacity, perspicacity, all this fucking shit that everyone else may not have, because you started your way from the fucking bottom and worked your way up. And really one of the largest factors, in my opinion, for success is hard work. And if you have to start from the bottom and work your way all the way up to the top, you probably put in more work than 90% of people, which gives you access to more tools that they don't have. So if you don't belong somewhere, use that as an opportunity to work to get there. And along the way, you'll build up a better person, not only for yourself, but for the business that you're trying to get into, the realm that you're trying to get into, the space that you're trying to get into. And then that will undoubtedly be seen as something that will take you into the next level of your career or your path. And people will notice that, and people will flock to you because they'll say, wow, at first he didn't belong here, but he worked his way up. I like that. I want that guy on my team. So use it. Use the negative and make it turn into a positive.
Now, I want to take a sideways approach or a tangent approach to this "you don't belong here" topic. Let's be clear that you actually have to be certain that where you are trying to fit into is exactly where you should be. Because oftentimes we can be misguided and end up attempting to be in the wrong room, in the wrong place, in the wrong field, with the wrong person, what have you. Again, this is subjective, but I do think that in some cases it's subjective because, to us at least, we believe in preordinance to a degree. Now, this is a quote from Alex Hormozy. That feeling of loneliness makes you normal in the right rooms. You're just surrounded by the wrong people. And if we're being honest, are they really where you want to feel like you belong? And so the question here is, you're in the right room, but there's a potential that you're surrounded by the wrong people. And that's why you feel lonely. That's why you feel isolated. That's why you feel ostracized. Within every group, there are niches. And the question is, are you within your niche? And if you've ever done marketing or you ever attempted to succeed in social media, you know that the biggest determining factor and one of the best pieces of advice that everybody will give you is find your niche and grow within that niche. So why wouldn't we apply that to real life and find our niche, find our group, find our fabulous five, for example, and become what we're supposed to be within that niche and better everybody around us, because the rising tide raises all ships. It's okay to experience certain levels of you don't belong here. But the question is, are you certain that this is where you need to be so that one day you will belong or you will create your own spot? Because imagine if Kobe Bryant was playing baseball instead of basketball. Sure, he could have been a great baseball athlete, but some might say that he was made for the NBA. He was made for the league. He was made to play for Team USA. He was made to do all these things. And he knew exactly where he was. And he did not belong initially. But it was his vehement ambition and obsession with the game and desire to win that made him who he was. And now he's inseparable. His name is forever inseparable from the sport globally. That is how you belong and make your place in anything and everything.
And I want everyone to be clear here. You may not be from a city like Austin. You may not be from a city like Dallas, New York, fucking Los Angeles, Chicago. You may not be from these big metropolitan areas. But you may have very large aspirations wherever you're watching from. You may not even be from the US. You may be from a third world country. Never know.
You might be from Mars.
There you go. All these different areas where you may have higher aspirations. And we've talked about this before on a previous podcast. about the importance of location. So not only will people look at you sometimes and say, hey, you don't belong here because of multiple reasons that they casted upon you, but I think a level of introspection is also very good when we're thinking about this topic as well. And you should ask yourself, do I belong here? Instead of you don't belong here from someone else, you have to ask yourself, do I belong here? Because if you're looking at your surroundings, you're looking at your environment, you're looking at the people around you, like Jose said, you might be in a room where it might be right, but the people aren't right. But you could also be in a place where the situation is not right. And in order for you to get to where you want, you'll probably have to relocate yourself. It's like how people say, oh, I want to be a movie star, so I'm going to go to LA. And we've talked about this reference before. If you live in bumblefuck Nebraska, nobody is going to come out and find you for a movie, more than likely. You're going to have to go to places where the film industry is very affluent. So ask yourself, do I belong here wherever I am at? And if the answer is no, or if you have any inkling that the answer is no, then work towards getting to where you think that you should be. Because we have a inclination sometimes to self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. And where you are may be cozy, it may feel good, it may be surrounded with people that you love, but the place that you want to get to may be somewhere else. And because of the unknown of you going to this place and the possibility of it not working, we'd rather crush our dreams and stay where we're at as opposed to going to go explore, be spontaneous, and try to work our way towards our goals.
Why?
Why? Again, because we self-sabotage a lot. We're lazy as humans. And again, it's very cozy and comfortable. And people like to operate from a standpoint of comfortability. But more often than not, if you're trying to get somewhere where most people can't, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. And you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So ask yourself again, do you belong where you are currently? If you have any inclination that the answer is no, then do something about it. Because I don't want you to stay anywhere where you may feel like you're not able to be the best you that you can be. And if your goal in life is to not live life how your mom wants, not live life how your grandparents want, not live life how, your siblings want, within reason, your goal in life is to be the best you that you can be a fucking astronaut, be an NBA player, be an entrepreneur, all these things, then go do it. And if you really, really believe that you can do it, go fucking do it, because you don't belong there. You know where you belong. And if you work towards it, you can get there.
The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out. Mic check.
The AM Club Podcast.